How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Mem Tes, Daf 49 of Masechta Nedarim. Friends, today we start the sixth parak of Masechta Nedarim. We talk about B'Nedarim Halich Achar Lashon B'nei Adam, which is an interesting sugya. That when it comes to vows, we go based on sort of the way that people speak in terms of determining the scope of the vow. We say, well, how do people normally refer to things? That's kind of the subject, I believe, of this parak. So, friends, without further ado, when you sign Daf Mem Tes Amud Aleph all the way at the top, Nedarim Amavushal, a fellow who says that he's not going to get any benefit from mevushal, stuff that's cooked. Mutar b'tzali, so he's allowed to eat things that are roasted. Uv'shaluk, or things that are only like 50% boiled, right? Normally shaluk is very boiled, but in this case it means only like uncooked. So if he says things that are, boiled, things that are properly cooked, so it excludes roasted, it excludes partially cooked. But if he says, I'm not going to eat any, tavshils, any cooked foods, right? So not mevushal, which is a specific type of cooking, but any type of cooked food, well then also b'maaseh kedera, he's not allowed to eat maaseh kedera rach, a soft porridge, umutar be'oveh, but he'd be allowed to eat a thicker porridge. Okay, the Gemara is going to explain why. Umutar bebeitza, a tormuta, and he's allowed to have a beitza, a tormuta egg, with lasar remutza and remutza gourd. Alright. Hanodim mimaiseh kedera, somebody who says he's not going to have any porridge, ein aser ela mimaiseh rischosa, only if it's like really scorched kind of porridge. Or Mekonim ayored l'kedera any time, if he says that anything that goes into a pot is like a korban to me and I'm not going to eat it. Also b'cholam is bashim b'kederis, and he's not allowed to have anything that's cooked in a pot. Okie dokie. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, says the Gemara, Rabbi Yoshia oser. Okay, so we had said in our Mishnah, nodim min mevushal, if he says that he's not going to get any benefit from mevushal stuff, so mutar b'tzali v'shalom. So okay, he can't have mevushal, but he can have roasted, he can have not fully cooked, but Rabbi Yoshia says osir. No, he can't. Even though we don't have an outright proof, we have like an allusion. Let's say Shneimar, the pasuk says vayivashus at Pesach, that they were mevashel the Pesach ba'esh in the fire kamishpat, like as it should be. Now the korban Pesach, of course, needs to be roasted, and it's being referred to as mevushal. So Rabbi Yoshia says that mevushal is that sali is included in mevushal, and therefore if he says hanodim and mevushal, it includes roasted as well. Let's say that the machlokas between Rabbi Yoshia and the Tanakama is the following. The Rabbi Yoshia says that when it comes to Nedarim, we go based on the verses in the Bible. And in the Bible it says, which means that bishul also applies to roasting. Whereas the Tana in our Mishnah holds, that when it comes to vows, we go based on the way that the people talk. And therefore, the way that the people talk, mevushal means mevushal, tzali is tzali, they're under a zachin, right? They're different things. And therefore, if he's nodim and mevushal, it doesn't include roasting. No, everyone agrees that when it comes to Nedarim, we go based on Lashon B'nei Adam. It goes based on how people talk. The thing is, vernacular, does that make sense? Dennis, does vernacular make sense in this? We go based on the vernacular? Mar ki asrei umar ki asrei, but it just depended where they lived. Be'asrei the Tana Dilon, where our Tana lives, litzali karu le tzali, lemevushal karu le mevushal. Where our Tana lived, they would separate, they would distinguish. Tzali is tzali, mevushal is mevushal. Therefore, if he's nodim and not mevushal, it only includes mevushal, it excludes tzali. Ba'asad Rabbi Yoshia, afilu tzali karu mevushal. But where Rabbi Yoshia lives, they would even call roasted things mevushal, and therefore, if he's nodim and not mevushal, it includes tzali as well. But what about the pasuk? The pasuk says vayivashlu ha-pesach ba'esh kamishpat. What about the pasuk, which seems to be saying that bishul includes tzali? Asmachta ba'ama, it's an asmachta, it's not actually a pasuk deorais. Limud D'Oraisa. Konam tavshil v'chulei. Okay, so we said any cooked food, so he's not allowed to have ma'aseh kedera rach, but he's allowed to have ma'aseh kedera ove. Can't have a soft porridge, but he can have a thick porridge. Va mizbashil nodar. I'm sorry, va mitavshil nodar. What do you mean he can't have? What do you mean that he's allowed to have ma'aseh kedera ove, thick porridge? He said he can't have any cooked foods. Thick porridge is cooked. That our Mishnah, that the Tana of our Mishnah holds that only something that you eat with bread is what's called a tavshil, and soft porridge you eat with bread, thick porridge you do not eat with bread. And we learn in a brisa, hanoder min tavshil, that somebody who makes a neder from tavshils, also b'chomini tavshil, can't have any kind of tavshil, cooked foods, also b'tzoli, and he can't have roasted, uvishaluk, and he can't have not fully cooked, uvimavushal, as well as boiled, v'aser behitarios rakos, and he's not allowed to have these soft gourds, shacholin ochlin boim piton, that the sick people eat their bread with it. So we see that that sort of mivushal is or a tavshil is connected to things that are eaten with bread. Ini, is this really true that sick people eat gourds? Rabbi Yirmiyah was sick. So a doctor came to doctor him up. And the doctor noticed that there was a gourd in the house. Shavke, so the doctor left. Vinofak, Omar Malach Mosa, Islay Ladain Bibeise. Interesting. Sharna, how does this compare to modern doctor's visits? Doctor comes into the house, sees a gourd in the house, leaves, and says, I'm out of here. The Malach HaMovis is here. There's nothing I can do for this fellow. That's what happened in the Maisa. So, Islan, the Dame Bebe said, look, there's a gourd over here. There's a Malach HaMovis, and I'm out of here. There's not much I can do at this point. I'm supposed to come to heal him, and here there's a gourd in the house. I mean, forget it. So, lo kasha, ashuni. So it depends. If it's a soft gourd, well then it's good for the sick people. But if it's a hard gourd, then better get out of there. Okay. Rav Bar Ula Amar says, Rav Bar Ula habikara gufe v'abigave dekar. Depends if we're talking about I don't really understand this distinction, but the gourd itself or the inside of the gourd. Damavuda luliva dekar bisilka, that you can have the inside of a gourd with leeks. Luliva dechitana b'kuscha, or the inside of a gourd in kutach dip. I guess, and those things are, good for sick people. But don't say this thing about the flax. I'm sorry, the inside of flax in this kutach dip. But don't say to Am Aretz is the thing about the flax, because then they'll start digging up the flax for this, and we don't want them doing that. Okay. Rava answers, right? Meaning we had said on the one hand that gourds are good for the sick people, but then we had this Maisa with Rabbi Yirmiyah where apparently gourds are like a representative of the Malach HaMovis. So we say it's not a contradiction, because when we said that the gourds are good for sick people, we didn't really mean sick people. Man cholin rabbanon. The sick people was actually a reference to the Torah scholars. Rava, the time of the Amar Rava, and Rava is consistent with his reasoning that he says, Kiman matzlinon al ktsir v'amariye. For who do we daven for these different kinds of sick people? Whose opinion is it that we daven for these different kinds of sick people? Kaman Kribyosi, it's like Kribyosi mida Amar Ktsira Marie, from the fact that we have two, right, Ktsire and Marie, two different ways of referring to these sick people. Shmamino Ktsire Mamish Marie Rabbanon, that the Ktsire are actual sick people, and the Marie are the rabbis. That the rabbis, because they're so busy learning, they get so shvach, they get so weak from the long hours in the Beis HaMedrash, so they're just considered perpetually choling, sick people. Umuter be'ovet. We said that he's allowed to, right? If he says that he can't have tafshil, right? He says another. Where is it? Tavshil she'eni toim. So also ma'aseh kedera rach umuter be'ovet. he's allowed to have the thick Maaseh Kedera. Masnisin delo kibavloi. The Mishnah is not like the Babylonians. The Amr Ibzera says, Ibzera babloi tibshoi ta'achli lachma bilachma. That the Babylonians are foolish, that they eat bread with bread, that I guess that they eat this thick porridge with bread. So we see that in Babylon they actually do eat bread with the thick porridge. So I guess you would be not allowed to eat thick porridge either, because that would be eaten with bread. Omer Rav Chizda says, Rav Chizda, is there anybody who can consult with the meticulous diners of Hutzal in Babylonia? What's the best way to eat this porridge? Dechite is it best to eat the wheat porridge with wheat bread, b'desari b'lachma desari, and the barley porridge with barley bread, or dulma dechite b'desari b'dechite, or perhaps it's better to eat the wheat porridge with the barley bread and the barley porridge with the wheat bread. Rava achle b'chsisei. Rava would eat, would eat the porridge with oven dried grain, with breads of oven dried grain, or he would eat the bread with porridge of oven dried grain or something. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna ashkechel Rav Huna. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna found his father Rav Huna. The ka'achol daisa be'etzbaite. That Rav Huna was eating porridge with his fingers. Amar le, amai ka'achol mai biyad. How come you're eating your porridge with your fingers? Amar le, hachi amar Rav. Well, because this is what Rav said. Daisa be'etzbaite, boss. That porridge is sweeter when you eat it with your fingers. Interesting. I guess if you don't have sugar, I mean, if you have sugar, you could probably just use a spoon. Well, maybe like maple syrup or something. But plus, certainly if you use 2 fingers, 3 fingers, each finger just makes it sweeter and sweeter. Okay. Omerle Rav l'chiyah brei. Rav said to his son, V'chein omerle Ravuna l'Rabba brei. Mizamnim l'chol l'meichol daisa. If they invite you for porridge, ad parsa. So be willing to walk up to a parsa to eat porridge. The meichol bisu the Torah ad tlosa parsin. And if they invite you to eat ox meat, so then be willing to walk up to 3 parsas. Omer le Rav l'chiyah brei. V'chein omer le Ravuna l'Rabba brei. Kol midoim lo tiflod kami rabach. Don't spit out anything in front of your teacher. Levarmin kar v'daisa, except for gourd and porridge. Shein dom l'fsilta shel aver, that they're like a thread of lead. V'afilu kami shvor malka polot. And even if you're in front of King Shapur, spit that stuff out because it's dangerous. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, chad ochel daisa be'etzbaite v'chad ochel behutza. So Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda were sharing a bowl of porridge. One of them was eating with his fingers, and the other one was eating with some kind of a leaf. Okay? So the one who was eating with the leaf as a utensil said to the one who was eating with his hands, I don't understand, we're sharing the porridge over here. Why do I have to eat the dirt from your fingernails? To which the one eating with his fingers said to the one eating with the leaf, why do I have to be eating your spit? Okay? Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon aisu the kamaya blusfin. So Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, they brought in front of them blusfin, which are kinds of dates, I believe. Dates or figs? I forget. Dates or figs, dates or figs, dates or figs, dates or figs, dates or figs. Come on. Nothing? Gornished? Blusfin. Te'enim. Okay, so figs. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda achal, Rabbi Shimon lo achal. So Rabbi Yehuda ate the figs, Rabbi Shimon didn't eat the figs. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda, my time lo achil mar. So Rabbi Yehuda says, why don't you eat the figs? Amalei Rabbi Shimon, elu ein yotzin mibnei ma'ayim kol ikar. Rabbi Shimon says, because these figs, you eat them and they get stuck inside of you forever. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, exactly, that's why I eat them. Kol shkin shnismoch alein l'macher. They'll be there tomorrow too. I don't have to eat tomorrow. Interesting. Rabbi Yehuda Abba Yosef came to Reb Tarfon. Rabbi Yehuda was sitting before Reb Tarfon. Omerle Reb Tarfon says to Rabbi Yehuda, Hayom ponecha tzuvin. Wow, your face looks very radiant today. Omerle. So Rabbi Yehuda says to Reb Tarfon, Emesh yotzu avadecha lasade. Yesterday your servants went out to the field. Ve'viu lanu traden v'achanum b'lo melach, and they brought for us beets, and we ate them without any salt. If we would have eaten them with salt, then our faces would be even more radiant. A certain matron, noblewoman, said to Rabbi Yehuda, Mora v'Ravi, you adjudicate, you teach halacha, and you posek halacha, and you're drunk all the time. He says, look, I'll tell you the truth. Look, the only alcohol I consume is kiddush and avdallah and the 4 cups at the Seder night. And I have such a headache from Seder night that my temples hurt from Pesach until Shavuos. So trust me, I'm not drunk. Rather, the wisdom of a fellow radiates his face, and that's why I look like I'm drunk. But really, it's just my wisdom. I really don't drink that much. Omar lei Awut Saduki le Rabbi Yehuda, a certain Sadducee said to Rabbi Yehuda, that your face looks either like people who lend with interest or people who raise pigs. These are I guess very profitable businesses that I guess are but not very halachic, right? Lending with interest or raising pigs. So the Sadducee was basically accusing Rabbi Yehuda of raising pigs or being a lender with interest. Amalei Biyudai, he basically says, no way, no how. Tavayu asurin. Both of them are forbidden. Rather, he responds in a funny way. He says, look, it must be because there are 24 bathrooms from my house to the Beis HaMedrash, and every hour of the 24 hours in the day, I'm going into a different bathroom, and that is why I look so great. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda, when he would go to the Beis HaMedrash, shakul tzana al kisvei, he would take a pitcher on his, or some kind of a bucket on his shoulders, and he would use that to sit on in the Beis HaMedrash. That great is work that ends up bringing honor upon those who do it. I'm schlepping this bucket, but now I'll have a place to sit in the Beis HaMedrash. Rabbi Yehuda, did I skip? Reb Shimon shakil tzana al kisvei. Reb Shimon took a basket on his shoulders, as baileo, and he says, great is work that brings honor to those who do it. And here also he will have this basket to sit on in the Beis HaMedrash. Divisu de Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda's wife, Nafkas Noktas Amra. Rabbi Yehuda was poor, and his wife went out and purchased this wool that she was able to use, of the glima de hutve, and she was able to make a good garment for their use. When she would go out to the market, she would wear this garment. When Rabbi Yehuda would go to pray, he would use this garment and pray. And when he would put on this garment, he would say, blessed is God that he provided me with a garment. One time Reb Shimon ben Gamliel made a decree that there would be a fast day. Rabbi Yehuda lo also levei tainisa. Rabbi Yehuda didn't come to the place where everybody else was to participate. Amrle, they said to him, lo is le kisuya. So they said to Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Yehuda couldn't come because he didn't have clothes to wear. So shadar le glima. So Reb Shimon ben Gamliel sent Rabbi Yehuda a garment. V'lo kabil. Rabbi Yehuda didn't accept it. V'lo kabil. And he didn't accept it. He says, look, Dali Tzifta, he lifted up a rug that he was sitting on, V'amar le shlucha, and he says to the messenger, Chazi mai ika, look what's there, right? There was a lot of treasure, there was a lot of money and stuff under the rugs. He says, look, I don't need your, I guess it was a miracle, right? Because he was really poor. But he says, look, under here, there's plenty of money. I don't need your money. Right? I don't want to get any benefit from this world, and that is why I don't have a cloak to wear, but I don't want to accept this cloak. Just kind of skedaddle, leave me alone. Alright, that was daf Memtes of Masechta Nedarim, the first daf of the 6th parak of Masechta Nedarim. The big principle of here is B'Nedarim Alech HaCholashim B'nei Odom. That when it comes to Nedarim, go based on how the people, if they say like mevushal, so then the question is what's considered mevushal, right? We saw machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Tanakama, the Tana of our Mishnah, Rabbi Yoshia and the Tana of our Mishnah, that Rabbi Yoshia says, for example, mevushal where he's from includes tzali, whereas the Tana of our Mishnah says it doesn't include tzali, right? So when it comes to Nedarim, we have to look at the vernacular, so we have to look at how people talk in order for us to determine what is applied in the vow. Friends, that was Daf Mem Tes of Masechet Nedarim. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.